It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by miniprint.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of miniprint.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, what time it is? It's train time. It's train time, and where are we today?
We're up at CMR Layout in the yard, Montreal Yard.
So today we'll show you the yards of the CMR Layout. It's not Cynic yet.
Oh no, we just got the power back.
And show you what kind of power we use and the change that happened. So I would take out the camera out of the tripod so we can show you by bit and pieces exactly where we're at. Well, folks, let's talk a little bit about the power generations for the layout of the CMR. You will see right to the left is a power supply. Over top of it is the modules for the radio control, and beside the power supplies, you will realize is the command control per se. One of the latest one, which is the DCS 210. Then you have two booster who are the DB 220, and the last one is the DB 150 for the short line. Now you notice above is each one of them are a specific district with PX1, which is the breaker for each individual line that we have, which is divided in between 1 east, 1 west, 2 east, 2 west, the yards, and then the short line. Another of the PX1 is on the other side where the steel mill will be. Above the PX1, you have two transformer in there, as Peter pointed to you. Those are on DC, and they are only for the accessory line, which work perfectly because the one on the right does all the east side and the one on the left does all the west side. Now on the center of the yards, which is 36 foot from start to finish, is a control boards. So on the right, you see that we have all the track for the classifications. Now those tracks are on an on and on switch. As you can see, Peter put them on and put them off. The only track that is precisely always light up is the last one, which is track number 9, which we will tell you a little bit later. In the middle, those are for the lighting of the building, which each number have a different sequence. When I go to the left of the control boards, the bottom part of it is the lines that are for the engine shop, and all those lines can be on and off just like the right side. Peter does show you that. Now to the left of that, those are all the tortoises to exit the yard on the west side. from the arrivals, departures to the main lines, and also the crossover, and also to go to the siding that run beside the MOW shops. Now we are on the east side of the yards, where you can see the double switch there. So you can go from main 1 to main 2, or to main 2 to main 1, depending where you want your train to go. As we go along, now what you see is one specific switch on the side of the backdrop, and that one goes to the store for the yards. The track beside is the track that goes to main 2. Now that specific switch there to the side of the backdrop is main 2. Right in the front of it is the arrival departure. Where the locomotive is located is the leads for the classification yards, and the track just beside me is main 1. Now as we go, you can see the store on the back, and you can start to see the throat for the classification yards. Now you have 9 tracks for that. Here, main 1 is joining the arrival departure. That's the switch for it. Now, all the switch on the east side of the yards where we are manual. When I go to the back, in the front of the YMCA, you see a switch in there that would bring you to the siding of main 2. And then the other switch in the front of the fire station will bring you to the tracks for the MOW tracks and the shop for them. A little further, you got another switch for the second tracks that goes through the building that you see in the background there. The locomotive, the CN locomotive that you see on the third tracks from the aisles here, is presently on the runaround, the track number 9. The track number 9 is also used to undo trains coming in from the short line, or to make train to go to the short line. When no trains are undone for the classifications, locomotives can run around and go to the other ladders that you start to see in there. This ladder that you see there bring the track for main 2 and main 1 arrival departure on both together. So the locomotive, when they unhook from main 2 arrival departures or from main 1 arrival departures, they can go to the engine shop where you see all those locomotives. The furthest CN locomotives beside the shop is on the fuel tracks, so they go get fuel in there. As we go along, on this side in here, track number 9 is extended, and you can see caboose at the moment who are there. Usually that would be ready locomotives that would be parked on that spur. Now you can see also by the switch here from the turnaround, that's, if you follow the stick of Peter, it will bring you to where the short lines coming into the yards by crossing main 1 and the arrival departure of main 1 to go to track number 9 to be undone. At the same time, you can see with those switch in there is the tracks for the car shop and the spray booth. Now, when the train from main 1 departed, it would be on the arrival departure tracks, and then connecting to number 1 and going into another double switch where you can go to main 2, or main 2 can come into main 1, just like on the east side of the yard. In here we are on the west side of the yards. Now all those switch there are controlled with tortoise. I'm pointing right now at the arrival departure track switch and main 2. This tower control is for the train movement on the main line, and control at the same time for the arrival departure. On track number 1, you see the scale. The scale is independent really from the track as far as power is concerned. And on the back, you see all the MOW that is parked along. Now if we come back to the west part, you will see the tanks that contain the fuel for the locomotives, and a tanker that presently get unloaded, which is serviced by CN or CP. Now we refer to the main 2 as the CP lines, and the main 1 as the CN line. Now the backdrop has to be redone with the scene of Montreal. So from one end to the other, we have 36 feet of yards. This is the control tower that is the one for the classifications. And behind the building that you see there is the administrations. That's where the engineer and the conductor will go, and at the same time the police for the railway is there. And with that, folks, you have an overview of what the line is, the power is, and how we control the yards.
Well, Joe, now we have photos of the month.
Yes, photo of the month. This month we will not have a review on mini prints because we didn't receive yet the package. So that will be a bigger review in March.
But he's also just moved to a new location.
Yeah, he's now having a commercial space, and by the time we get totally reorganized and get caught up with the orders and so on, we can see why we got to Delhi to receive the package.
Yep.
So there's a lot of interesting things happening with mini print, so you can go and see what is new with mini print at www.miniprint.com.
Right.
After that will be
View from above.
view from above, you know, and our commercial about the Transcona fundraiser. We encourage you to participate.
Yes.
It's a good cause, and also don't forget the books.
Yes.
Okay, from Barbara Lang.
Barbara Lang, yes.
You know, we got them for sale. You can get in touch with us, and we'll send them to you. So let's go to the photo of the month.
Enjoy.
Ever wanted to take a nostalgic trip back to the steam era? Through the Window of a Train is the book for you. Or go back into history with the Memory of the Moonlight Specials. Through the Window of a Train for $19.95, or Memory of the Moonlight Specials for $21.95, or 4 limited time offers. You can get both books signed for only $39.95 plus shipping. Order now.
it certainly was a nice segment about the yard.
CMR, yeah. Yes. It's so nice to have power and be running again.
Yeah. It's not scenic, but
that's way down the road yet.
yeah, we got some other scenery to start, starting with the month of March.
Yep.
So our track gang will be smoothed off, a little kink here and there.
Yeah, they're inspecting joints and stuff and that type of thing, make sure everything's running right. So.
Well, you had a discussion on Facebook, a thread there, in regard power and the gauge of wires and so on and so on. Upstairs, we run our power, which individual districts for our lines.
Yes, we have our main 1 east and west. We have our main 2 east and west. We have the yard, and then we have the short line.
Yeah, and the way that it's done upstairs is to go back to that thread that was there about the length of wires before you lose power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we work with 12 gauge for the bus,
Right.
and it's a hard wires.
Yep.
It's not a stranded wires, and the controls, the power itself is smack in the middle.
In the middle, and then we go in a U shape.
Exactly, and they come back on the other end of the layout on the other side where you have technically way over 50 feet of lines, and they stop, and at the end we put a snuffer in.
Right.
Instead of twisting the wires like they do, we put a snuffer
We
in.
put a snuffer in, and then we don't lose any power back and forth between the lines at all.
No, and it cut off all the communication in between the amount of wires that are there. Now, there's a little thing in there that it's a matter of opinion, but people will put leads every 6 feet or so on. We have leads for every piece of tracks.
Every time there's a joint, there's new leads on the next section.
Exactly. It doesn't matter the length of the track. It could be a 3-inch or it could be a 3 feet. They all have a set of leads, and so is the switch.
Yes, and the only way we've strayed from that is if we've had to put in, say, a stub filler section.
Yeah.
We have occasionally, instead of dropping leads, we'll solder the joint to the longer length that has leads on it.
Yeah, but what you're talking about is something that is probably not over 1.5 inches.
Oh yeah, like maybe 2 inches at the most. Just a little stub filler,
And that will not disturb. But if that 2 inches is in the middle, example, you got 2 3-foot flex tracks coming in on the main line, and to be able to put them together, you got that 2-inch there. Well, that 2-inch would do have leads. It will not be soldered, because usually that is that 2-inch that will give you problem, not the 3 feet. So, but when it get to a stub, that's when at that point it would be soldered to the track ahead of it. So that way you do not have a loss of power. Upstairs, with the way our system is put together, which you had a view on the first segment, and you have a little view on this segment, I had 46 locomotives with sound in there, running all at the same time, and the train running, and no loss of power.
Right.
But being a system that is radio control with a DT500, it's done in such a way that the operator of the train must follow his train.
Yes.
So that way, you do not have a problem.
Right.
Now, operation-wise, we do have headphones where we can communicate from one operator to another. So one guy will necessarily be at the yards classifying trains to get ready to go and demolishing trains after they arrive and so on. That will be his only job. And then the same thing might happen on the side of Winnipeg's, but the other train will be running. You will have some in siding, you will have some on the short line, all over the place. So technically we can run an average about 8 trains.
Well, with the 4 of us, if all 4 of us are running and our controllers, we can have basically 2 trains on. There's 8 trains that the 4 of us can be running.
Yeah, well, you see, by demolishing a train to rebuild another train, if you got an operator in the yard that does that, you can have continuous train going. You know, it's just a matter of changing the number on your handheld. And that's the only thing. Now, scenery-wise, I think the future video coming in for its train time will have a lot of the how we do some sceneries.
And we're even going to try some different techniques, I guess, on some of the mountain scenes. And
well, yes, because then at that point, the beginner will be able to choose what you want to do and experiment at the same time that you watch the video. Is many different techniques that can be used on mountain, like as many other different techniques that can be used doing the basic sceneries. So the first part of the plan is to do the basic sceneries, what we call the rough in here. And then after that come the time for the details, where those scenes would be done maybe a square foot at the time or 2 square foot at the time, and be super detailed as we go along. And
because we have a lot of square feet.
Yes, and I still have a lot of buildings to build. And a big part of those buildings have to be done from scratch. So the steel mill area is nothing built in there. Right now we got track and switch that's stopped there, and that's it, because we don't exactly know what is the layout of the track will be. But a lot of that will have to be modified to accommodate the place in question. Now, when it comes to cleaning, where's the steel mill? The track will be clean, but the building will never be clean. Because reason being is, around the steel mill, there's nothing clean there. So the yards will be also dirty. You know, with spill and all sorts of things and so on and so on. But our track crew has to start to doing some ballast the minute that they finish to smooth out all the rails. So, but we went a long way, Peter.
We've come a long way. It's taken us, what, a year to get all the power redone?
About. Including the time that isolations for, no, it's over and above the time for the isolation of COVID.
Yes, we missed some time with isolation, yes.
Well, our track gang missed 11 months. Us, we lost technically 2 months.
2 months, I think,
because we started to redo the video and that type of thing and work on the railroad. But I think COVID in some ways have been very good to us, because it make us realize where some of the track arrangement didn't make sense. And we correct that. Unfortunately for you, Peter, you spent twice as much time underneath the layout.
Yes, I've done that.
Then you should.
I've been underneath for double the amount of layout size.
And suddenly when we put the power on, we had 5 out of 6 districts that were working, and the number 6, which was one of the most important one, didn't want to work till we find out it was one switch.
One faulty switch.
And since then everything is fine.
Or turnout, if you want to refer to it as the one faulty turnout. So we still have 2
power control box, where's Winnipeg and Thunder Bay on the layout, to be wired. But that does not affect the train to run.
The running, yeah.
It will just, when they are all plugged in, it will be easier in some way to run. But
And like you said, hopefully March, we're at the end of February, March we can start looking at scenery and, baby steps, eh?
oh, absolutely. So folks, don't forget to come and visit us again.
Yes,
And-
please leave your comments. We like to hear from you.
Yeah. Right below, we like to read them, and we'll see you in episode number 27.
Yes.